Greetings everyone, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album War. Today we're going to look at two really strong progressive rock releases. I was going to say prog rock, but I figured I'd say the whole thing. Progressive rock, prog rock, or just straight prog, whatever you want to call it. One released in 1988, one released in 1999. So about a 10-year gap between them. But they're both pretty cool. One of the things I like so much about each of these live albums is that they pretty much represent most of the great repertoire of each band up to that point in time. Okay, first we got Marillion's The Thieving Magpie. All right, that great Mark Wilkinson artwork there. And then we've got from Canada, that band from the UK act. All right, and then from Canada, we've got Saga Detours. Now, Saga's got a bunch of live albums. I could have chosen, I almost did, the In Transit, which was their first live album from the 80s. But it was a single release. This to me, just so much more of a killer live album than that one. Although that one's strong, this just has so much more material on it. They've released other live albums since then. They've got a whole bunch of them. But for my money, this is probably the best representing the first kind of 2 decades of the band's career. Whereas this album is kind of the swan song for the lineup of the band led by Mr. Derek Dick, otherwise known as Fesh. Okay, because he would leave the band shortly after the release of this, and in comes Steve Hogarth. But that's a story for another day. So basically what you've got here is you've got some... Basically, this is Marillion's Strangers in the Night and Live and Dangerous. Basically, okay? A lot of people... I talk to a lot of people who, you talk about UFO and you talk about Thin Lizzy, and they're like, well, if you're not really that familiar with the band, each one of those bands, just go out and get Strangers in the Night and Live and Dangerous. You got most of their best material on each one of them, and those are like the definitive versions of the band. Kind of the same thing with Marillion here. If you are not familiar with the original, those first 4 studio albums, okay, or the Fish era of the band when he was singing for the band, just pick this up, because here you've got definitive versions of all. It's got most of their best songs from, Script for a Jester's Tear, Fugazi, Misplaced Childhood, and Clutching at Straws. Most of the best material is on here. Okay, so what do we got on here? And by the way, these recordings were taken from various live gigs from the years 1984, 1986, 1987. Like I said, this was released in late 1988. All right, kicking off disc 1. Okay, originally a double album set. We've got... La Gaza Ladra, okay. We've got Slanch Moth, okay. We've got He Knows You Know. This is a song about drugs. We've got Chelsea Monday. We got Freaks. All the best freaks are here. A killer emotional jigsaw, okay. Punch and Judy. Punch, punch, punch. And Judy. We've got Sugar Mice, a amazing rendition of Sugar Mice. Okay. Fugazi, the dark and menacing Fugazi. Then the title track, Script for a Jester's Tear. Incommunicado, a rousing, upbeat Incommunicado. And then the best version ever of White Russian. It's just so emotional. And that's just the first disc, all right? Over on the second disc, you've got basically the Misplaced Childhood Suite, parts 1 and 2, okay? Taking up that whole side, all right? Let me just make sure that that's got everything, right? Hold on, just want to check, make sure my CD's got the whole 9 yards. Yeah, so that's basically got the whole Misplaced Childhood. So you got Pseudo Silk Kimono, Kaylee, Lavender, Bittersweet, Heart to Lothian, Waterhole Espresso Bongo, Lords of the Backstage, Blind Curve, Childhood Zen, and White Feather. Okay, so you've got their whole, concept album. All right, and then over on the first disc, you've got all those classic tunes from all the other albums. Just some great, great stuff. You know, is it missing stuff? Well, I'm sure, you know, another disc would have been great, right? Because there's just so much other great material from this band on those first 4 albums. But really the kind of meat and potatoes of those albums. You know, I would have liked more Clutching at Straws, personally. Okay? But we got some really, really good stuff from those albums. And it's, you know, and again, it's not like they took these songs and there's no jamming on here, right? That the one great thing about Marillion is they would play the songs live exactly like on the albums, but Fish just singing them even more dramatically, okay? And just perfect renditions of them. So basically it's what you know and love from the albums with even more power and drama and emotion behind them. Okay, so if you want to hear a band kind of stretching out and adding, you know, lengthening up songs that you like, you know, you don't really get that here. But these are some of the best versions of those songs you'll hear. All right, really great stuff. All right, over on the other one, okay, over on Detours. So, you know, Saga, prog rock band with a lot of, you know, a lot of hard rock muscle, you know, from Ian Crichton on guitar. Michael Sadler's great vocals, a lot of pop nuances to their music as well. Maybe not as kind of, what's the word? Saga, just such a different band, very unique. All right, you know, their keyboards are very like futuristic sounding. Some of their songs are more kind of arena rockish, but they always throw in those kind of complicated solo breaks, lots of synth solos and guitar solos. I always really dug Saga's music. Totally different beast than Marillion. Right, but still, nonetheless, great band, and they've been around since like the mid-late 70s, still going strong to this day. You know, with basically got almost the same lineup, you know, for the most part. So what do we have on here? So we've got 2 jam-packed CDs, right? You've got How Long, you got The Perfectionist, Careful Will Your Step. You got Ice Nice, okay? Don't Be Late, Chapter 2. The Interview. Wind Him Up, the legendary Wind Him Up, one of my favorite tunes from this band. Welcome to the Zoo. Take a Chance. Williams Walkabout and The Cross, finishing off disc 1. Okay, going over to disc 2, you've got Scratching the Surface, endearing song with a great hook. You've got their perennial #1, probably most famous song. Most people who don't know really much about Saga at all know this song, On the Loose. Tonight You're on the Loose. Security of Illusion, great, great title track from that album. I Walk With You, Time's Up, another great, great tune from the band. Heaven Can Wait, The Flyer, I'm the Flyer, only one desire. Great tune. You're not alone. Another great, great Saga tune. So many great anthems. A lot of really good anthems. Framed, and then finishing it all off with a 12-minute version of Humble Stance. Okay. Great, great, upbeat, catchy prog rock stuff, man. The whole album is just killer. You know, these guys, unfortunately, never really made it big here in the U.S., You know, of course, they got a huge following in Canada, but they're enormous in Germany, of all places. You know, neither one of these bands really ever did much here. And I know we're going to get a bunch of people who are going to be like, you know, I never heard either of these albums. It's a shame. I think, you know, most loyal prog rock fans probably love both of these. And, you know, and there's other live Marillion albums from later on. With Hogarth, like I said, there's plenty of Saga live albums. Some of you may like In Transit a little bit better. Their earlier one, a lot more compact, but I think this blows it away because the performances are great. It's got great recording, and there's just so much of their excellent material from the 80s and the 90s on here. I mean, to me, this is like the definitive Saga live album. All right, although some of their later ones are really good too. And this, for me, like I said, this is. If you have no experience with Fish-era Marillion, this is the one to check out first. This is basically like pretty close to a greatest hits live, all right, of the Fish era. And, you know, you got killer artwork all adorning the whole thing, and this cover's kind of crappy, but what are you going to do? So if I had to pick between the two, because that's obviously what we're doing here with these shows, this is as close as it gets. You know what it is? I absolutely adore, and we have already done a show on Marillion. I absolutely adore the Fish era of Marillion. I'm not nearly as big a fan of the Hogarth era. I like the first bunch of albums with when Steve was in the started singing for the band. I haven't really been interested in anything they've done in probably 15, 20 years. But I adore those 4 studio albums that Fish did with the band, as well as this. Okay. As well as I know they got some other B-sides themselves and the Grendel stuff and all that. I love all that stuff. I've had this for a long time. I really dig this a lot. Okay, and I was listening to this today for the first time in a while, probably easily a couple of years, and I was just reminded of just how great it is. Overall, if you were to talk to me about Marillion and Saga, I think I like Saga better as a band, just because I've liked all their material from the start all the way up to more recent days. I think their career as a whole just appeals to me more, but I like the Fish era more than anything from Saga, if that makes any sense, right? I think hopefully that makes sense. As a band, career-wise, I like Saga better because a lot greater material overall over the span of however many 40 years they've been around. But for those, short few years where Mr. Fish was fronting the band, hard to beat that stuff. So if I had to pick between the two of these to go on to the second round, I'm going to go for Marillion here. All right, this just kind of does a lot for me. Not that this doesn't, because this is kick-ass. I was listening to this morning, too. I was like, man, that's even better than I thought it was. But this is just pretty damn special. Pretty special. So it's going to get my vote in a unanimous decision here. All right, in this heavyweight bout, 116, 114, 117, 110, 116, 111. Unanimous decision. A good challenger. Quite good, as a matter of fact. If you're not familiar with Saga, this is a great place to start. Same thing here with Marillion, all right? Especially for their early stuff. So you guys do the same thing, all right? Upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a little white circle with an eye in the middle of it. That's what you're going to click. Vote for Marillion or Saga, all right? In 6 days, between the votes here and the votes on our Facebook page, a winner is going to move on to round 2 in our Classic Live Album Tournament to see which one you crown as your favorite live album of all time. So we'll see which one of these two great prog live albums makes it, okay? We'll see. We'll see. And we got more coming up tomorrow. We got 2 more coming up tomorrow. We're going to try and do 2 of these a day till we get through that first round. Knock them all out, because I want to get started on round 2 because we got a lot of these to go. All right, so stay tuned, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Visit us on the web at www.seattranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're on YouTube every day. Is there anything else more I want to say about these two? I don't know. If you haven't heard them, go check them out. They're both really, really good. So I'm curious to see some of your comments and feedback about what you love about these. And if you haven't heard them, let us know. Go out and listen to them and let us know what you think, right? So we'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.